We've got a news alert for you right now on a major development in the nuclear standoff with North Korea. The communist regime's notoriously hardline ex-spy chief will tomorrow deliver a letter to President Trump written by Kim Jong Un. And we are told that it could mean the June 12th summit is in fact back on. Earlier today, Vice Chairman of the Central Committee, Kim Yong Chol, met with Secretary of State Mike Pompeo in New York City. They had a steak dinner last night as well. Wonderful. Great bonding there. It is the highest-ranking meeting with the North Koreans on U.S. soil in 2 decades. But don't bust out the champagne and convert the bomb shelter to a man cave just yet, because according to Secretary Pompeo, if we want to solve this crisis, there's still some incredibly difficult work ahead. Watch.
Make no mistake about it. President Trump, this administration completely understands how hard this problem is. There's a long history where North Korea has viewed its nuclear program as providing the security that it needed for the regime. The effort now is to come to a set of understandings which convince the North Koreans of what President Trump has said. I believe they are contemplating a path forward where they can make a strategic shift, one that their country has not been prepared to make before.
President Trump also downplaying chances of a quick deal with the North Koreans. He's even suggesting the June 12th summit could be the first in a series of meetings.
Hopefully we'll have a meeting on the 12th that's going along very well, but I want it to be meaningful. It doesn't mean it gets all done at one meeting. Maybe you have to have a second or a third, and maybe we'll have none. But it's in good hands. That I can tell you.
All right, we want to trust the president. We want this to work out, but we want to know what is the holdup. President Trump has said that the only way there will be lasting peace is if Kim Jong Un gives up all of his nuclear weapons. But according to a recent CIA report, it is unlikely the dictator will ever agree to that. So does the letter mean we are stepping away from a nuclear apocalypse? With me now, author of Nuclear Showdown and a columnist at the Daily Beast, Gordon Chang is with me once again. Welcome back, Gordon.
Thank you, Kennedy.
So we want this to work. There have been so many moving parts and a lot of unpredictability. What do you think that letter signifies to the president, and what do you think it says?
Yeah, I don't think the letter says, I'm going to give up all my nukes, you can have all my ballistic missiles, and you can inspect me till kingdom comes, which is really what we need in that letter. Yeah. And the problem I have here is that we have gotten all the concessions so far. The North Koreans have just given up everything. Yeah. They've released the 3 American hostages, and they've promised actually, quote unquote, denuclearization. But when Trump and Kim meet, then Kim gets a big win because he gets legitimization. Yeah. He solidifies his regime. Those pictures of Kim and Trump are going to be seen for decades if the regime survives. So it's up to President Trump to make sure that although they get the win, we get something in return, which is really big.
Yeah, and you're absolutely right. You know, this very well could be, although this is an interesting presidency and a very busy presidency, and the news cycle works so quickly, this really could be a defining moment. That meeting where, you know, nowadays we only pause for a second and then wait for the next crisis. But there is something really significant about this. And for those who doubted the president, and for those who feared that we were on the brink of a third world war because of some of his tougher rhetoric, what do you tell those people now about this process, and how do we get the most out of it?
Yeah. I think that we get the most out of this by doing what President Trump has done before, which is, first of all, hold the threat of force over them, but more important, cut off the flow of money to the regime. So, for instance, during President Trump's presidency, we have had the flow of international cash to North Korea decline by about 50%. That's good, but we need to have it another 40% down. And then North Korea has got no choice but to give up its weapons. And, you know, the CIA report says, look, the North Koreans will never give up their nukes. Well, in a sense, but that's only under the current set of incentives that Kim operates on.
What is the upside for them, though? I mean, is there enough of an upside? Because, you know, and this is something that I think is a really important element in the way Kim Jong Un and his father and grandfather have ruled, and that's with total control. Now, it's very difficult to get money in and introduce the free market and still maintain that level of control.
Oh, they do not want a free market. When President Trump tweets, oh, this can be a prosperous nation, that's the last thing that Kim Jong Un wants, because for 7 decades, these guys have remained in control because because everyone's been so destitute.
Yes.
When you're destitute, you don't have the means to resist. When you're wealthy, you can push your leader around. Kim Jong Un knows that. He looks at China and he doesn't like what he sees. So I think that essentially what we're going to have to do is try to make North Koreans prosperous.
Yeah.
But
when he looks at someone like Nicholas Ceausescu, he doesn't like what he sees. When he looks at someone like Muammar Gaddafi, he doesn't like what he sees. And, that's when there is optimism or there is overthrow by force. And when he doesn't have control and when society is now longing for mobility and prosperity, he's not going to have his weapons to hold over their heads either. So what does he have left?
Well, what he needs is money to buy the loyalty of senior regime members. That's gift politics. If Kim doesn't have that cash, then he's out. And I think that the choice that President Trump has to give Kim is a very simple one. Look, you give up your nukes, you survive. You don't give up your nukes, we're going to cut you down so fast, so far, that you're not going to have the money to keep everything together. That's the deal that's got to be put to him. And I hope that President Trump is going to do that.
Yeah.
I sort of assume that that's what John Bolton would do.
Yeah.
So I'm sort of a little bit optimistic, but I want to make sure that the administration doesn't let the pressure up. And I'm afraid that they might do that.
We have a lot of transparency in this country. I mean, shows like this don't exist in North Korea, where we challenge our leaders, we talk about our leaders, we see how the influence of one person within an administration can make such a big impact. What do we know about those senior leaders in North Korea? Do they want this peace process to work out, or is their love and admiration for Kim Jong Un waning?
I think it's waning. Last week we heard news of a big shakeup at the top of the North Korean military. A guy who was there only since February got turfed out. And that means that the situation is fluid. Now, we don't know exactly what this means, Kennedy, but there's a suggestion that Kim Jong Un doesn't really control the military as much as he controls the party and the security services. If he doesn't control the military, he's in problem because those are the guys with the nukes and the missiles.
Yeah, exactly.
And so,
and you've talked about the importance of that conventional military, and those are the guns you really point at people's heads in order to get them to do what you want. Everyone knows that you're not going to blow anyone else up with a nuke, but when you're talking about tanks and RPGs and some of the other elements of their conventional military, they've got that, and that, in a way, is much more powerful than a man who's about to neuter himself by giving up his nukes.
Yeah, and I think Kim is in a tough position because he put the possession of nuclear weapons into the North Korean constitution.
Yeah.
He has something called the Byung-jing line, which is economic prosperity plus the world's most destructive weapons. If he gives up those weapons, he's undercutting his own legitimacy. He knows that. And so, therefore, I think that he's really sort of in a bind right now because he knows that the administration is going to put a lot of pressure on him. He knows what his generals don't want him to do.
Yes.
And so there's really no way out for him.
And that's a part of the conversation that we haven't been hearing so often, but, really important. And thank you so much for bringing all this to light. Appreciate it, Gordon.
Thank you, Kennedy.
Very good.